And as part of Financial Literacy Month, we will have a couple of opportunities this month, today and later in the month, to have Clinton Wilkins in studio and a special edition of Mortgage 101, your guide to homeownership, which usually airs on the weekend, which we had a weekend show already. But again, Clinton Wilkins and Entourage has joined us. Clinton Wilkins, hello.
Hello, how are you doing? Doesn't everybody love a good entourage, though, Todd?
I mean, when you come in, you brought an entourage of people. I did a count. I think it was 8 people you brought with you today.
I mean, I think that's how we normally roll, isn't it? You can tell me. I mean, we've been doing this show for a number of years.
Yes, but you've never had an entourage of this size.
Okay, well, this is a special show, and of course it is Financial Literacy Month. I think it's one of the most important months of the year, and we're all about education. That's what the show is all about. But I'm happy to be back with you here, live. We haven't really done a full Mortgage 101 live show since the pandemic, so we're back.
We are back, and you brought along a guest, Dan Lomas, Desjardins Financial Security Independent Network. Dan, hello.
Hello, Todd. How you doing?
I'm well. Welcome to the studio, and you're part of the entourage.
I guess so. I've been working with Clinton's office and his clients for the last 6 years, and what we do there is Clinton funds a deal, and then I take care of the financial side of the clients if they want to talk to us. So it's a great value add for Clinton's office, and it's a great opportunity to help educate some buyers out there.
Absolutely. So, Clinton, give me an example of when it might be a real benefit to have Dan in house and be able to move forward with whatever after the deal is funded. Give me some examples.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as you know, the mortgage is the biggest debt of a consumer's life, and buying a house is their biggest purchase. And so many Canadians are underinsured. Now, I know nothing about life insurance. I'm basically just a consumer, but I know it's important. And I think that's kind of the first step. I know enough basically to be dangerous. I'm not licensed to do anything with insurance, but through our process, we do offer creditor insurance from a couple different companies. And, I think that's important about building that bridge for consumers. Sometimes it's the first insurance that they've ever had in their life. And people know they need protection, especially if there's two people that are buying a property. And we see this all the time. We need both incomes to make it work. Yep. And as you know, if something happens, if one of those incomes is removed from the household, it certainly can have a lot of negative implications to their situation. And, it's a good conversation to have. We never want to have the conversation on the other end. And trust me, we have, 10,000 plus clients. We do get the calls. Things happen to people. Either they, become critically ill, they become disabled, or sometimes, clients do pass away. That is the reality of life. And I know insurance is important, and that's why I think having a second opinion and a second look is just really, really so important. I think people are sometimes under-advised. And, we really focus on being in that advice business. And I think having a partner like Dan in our office really, elevates that situation for the client. And I think Dan is really unbiased. He deals with a variety of different insurers and financial advice products. So, we'll let him talk about, what his kind of job looks like every day and, the advice that he gives to people.
All right, Dan, let's first drill down into what the difference is between what can be sold when a mortgage is being through creditor insurance and what's the difference between that and what you can sell, which is as a licensed agent. What's the difference between those two products?
Well, the two products, so creditor insurance can be sold by just about anybody selling a product, and it's attached to your debt. And they usually ask 3 or 4 or 5 questions to make sure that you can generally qualify. And it's a good stopgap. But there are times where those policies can be looked at time of claim. So in the underwriting that or the small print, the insurer has the right to go back and check your medical history, your credit history at time of claim. And in some cases, they can deny the claim. Whereas when they come in and they sit and they talk with somebody and they buy an actual policy from an insurance company, from a licensed agent, we do all the questioning, all the medical research, all the underwriting before we issue the policy. So once you actually have the policy and you're paying for the premiums, you have a policy that's set in stone. So if you pass away, you're sure that your beneficiaries are going to get what you had asked for. The only time that wouldn't happen is if they find out that you actually lied on your application, but as agents, that's our job to sort of flush that out beforehand.
I see that all the time. People I think the number one thing people ask me, and I always tell people, you need to be honest, but it's around smoking. Smoking is kind of the number one thing. People are like, well, I don't smoke, but I kind of like, I'll smoke maybe like while I'm out, for dinner or whatever. And I always tell people, I'm like, honesty is the best policy, especially with this insurance business, because you never want to get to a situation where you're in a claim, but your claim gets denied.
Right. Now, there are some questions that get asked, right? When you put the product that you can sell, Clinton, in front of somebody.
With the creditor insurance.
Right, the creditor insurance. There are, it's not as though you say there are questions that get asked, right?
Yeah, there certainly are some questions, and I think they're very kind of high level. And sometimes they will do like a paramedical, similar to what they will do with a whole life or a term policy that Dan would do. But Dan is correct; like the underwriting is really done at that time of claim, and the insurance is different. And the way that I always tell people, especially around this creditor, is this is a bridge maybe until you get a more permanent insurance. And creditor, we don't think of something like creditor to be something that you're going to have for life. You're not going to have this for 20 years.
You can cancel it at any time.
Exactly. You know what? This is something where you can take and you're covered right now, especially going out the door.
You might be 6 months before you see Dan and you go through blood work and all of this stuff, right?
Yeah, and maybe Dan could talk about the process. Like, I don't know. Like, how long does it normally take, Dan, to get a term or a whole life policy in place?
Fully underwritten.
It really depends on a few factors: your age, how much insurance you're looking for. Generally, if you're looking for less than $1 million worth of coverage, it's a fairly quick process, 2-3 weeks once we do the application.
Okay.
Sometimes at higher levels, over $1 million, or if you're over 40 years old, they're going to want some blood work or a few tests, some doctor's reports. Or if you come to me and you say, I have this illness already.
Like
then
a pre-existing.
We're going to ask for more information.
Yeah,
so,
could get a rider potentially on it for the illness.
You can get an exclusion for the illness.
Yeah,
and you can buy riders. But really, what you're doing is we're underwriting the amount of insurance you're looking for, and that could take anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 weeks. I've also seen a lot of the insurance companies are using AI to do some of the underwriting. So depending on how you answer the question, we've also had people approved right there in front of us.
Really? Oh, wow.
They've changed a lot of the algorithms.
Okay.
And now, based on how you answer the question, it'll pop up new questions for us to ask. So we don't have to go to an underwriter.
Okay.
But at certain age brackets and certain price bands, they will start asking for more medical information.
Yeah. Also, I would think that you mentioned that this type of product that can be sold at a time of purchase, that just covers the mortgage itself, right? Whereas if you sell a product, then the payout is you get the full amount. So this is a descending amount that somebody's going to get.
Exactly.
Whereas with your product, it's not a descending amount.
That's correct. It's a set amount.
A set amount, and that's very important. I think that's a huge, because if you can pay the same premium or less for something that's not descending is inherently a better product, is it not? I don't know if that makes sense or not, does it?
Absolutely. That's one of the things that we talk about all the time. The other thing is you're buying a longer term, so it doesn't change with your mortgage, or it doesn't change with your debt. So, if you're in Clinton's office and he sells you one product from one institution on this mortgage, and the next time you come back and he's discovered a better product with a different institution, as a broker, he can do that.
You have to change the insurance.
You have to change your insurance.
Yeah.
And at that time,
cases,
you may not be insurable, or you're insurable, but you're 5 years older. And it's a lot more expensive. Whereas if you buy a 10 or 20 or 30-year term, you get the same price for that time frame, and you just take it with you.
Yeah.
It's not specifically attached
and I think
to the
the big thing is for us, like with the creditor insurance, it pays out the creditor. Where if you have the whole life or the term, Dan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that gets paid to the estate.
Yeah, the estate.
It gets paid to the named beneficiary. So
okay.
it could be the estate, or it could be the beneficiary directly.
Yeah. And then they can do with what they will. Maybe they don't want to pay off the mortgage.
Yeah, maybe not. People's situations do change over time, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so important about sitting in front of like an unbiased mortgage professional or someone like Dan to get that advice.
Yeah.
Because everybody's situation is different. And I think that's so important. If you've liked what you've heard and you want to learn more, feel free to visit us online at teamclinton.ca.